So, welcome back to another episode of Lachlan Shares His Thoughts. Um, so, I had one today, and there are, well, let's be fucking honest here, majority of moments in my day where I fucking love being a father. There is honestly nothing in this world that is more fulfilling and brings me joy and happiness than being a father. There just isn't. Like, you talk about what you're meant to do with your life, and this was it. Like, I was meant to be a father, and I know I'm unusual in those kinds of things. I've always known what I wanted to do from a very young age, and that included being a father from like probably 17, 18. I knew I wanted to be a dad. Granted, I was not fucking ready, and I'm glad I didn't have children then. But yeah, it's something that fulfills me, and especially when you can take time to step back into it and observe life as a child. I am prone to those days like everybody else of anxiety and depression and, you know, not necessarily true depression, but probably sadness is a more accurate term. But, the saying that came to mind, which is so true, is anxiety is living in the future and sadness is living in the past. Happiness is living in the moment. And there is nothing like spending time with a child that will realign you and bring you back to the moment to recognize that. Because it's true, if you're in the moment, if you're in that present moment, you can't be sad. If you're truly on that, sadness comes from thinking about things you can't control, like true sad and depression and those kinds of things. You can be sad because something bad happened, but true sadness, like long ongoing sadness, and anxiety comes from living in the future of things you cannot control. And as I said, there is nothing more truly bridging and enlightening than just spending time with a child, because it fixes that thought process for you. I was starting to get a bit anxious about, bills and things that I had upcoming. And thankfully I spent, a good half an hour plus at the park with my daughter, and that snapped me back into it. And I was like, it brings you back into the present moment, because what else matters? Like, you're here with this beautiful child, and I was just with her in the present moment, watching her live her best life. Just happiness, not a care in the world. And it just made me remember that as long as I have her, my son, I have my wife, what else matters? I can figure everything else out. I have been like, when I took a step back and actually thought about it, I was like, these are nothing fucking issues. I will solve them in a heartbeat. If anything, I was making them issues, and they can, mountains out of molehills. But it took that moment to step back and be like, yeah, I can figure anything fucking out. These three people are the most important thing in the world to me, and as long as I have them, I am going to be fine. Everything is going to be fine. And I think it's a really, really important thing to keep coming back to, that, anything can be worked out as long as you stay present and you stay focused and you do the work. As long as you're showing up and doing the work and you're progressing forward every single day, it will work out. 100% guaranteed. On a long enough timeline, it will all work out. The only way it fails is if you quit. And that's a hard lesson, because there are times where you're like, there is no way out. There is. There is always a way out. It may not be great, may not be enjoyable, but there is always a way out. There is always a way forward. So keep showing up and keep doing the work. And on top of that, if you do that, you'll be shocked at what appears out of, thin air. I've been amazed at how many times I've been like, I don't know how this is going to fix itself. And I just surrender the process. I do the work. I just keep showing up. And lo and behold, it gets sorted. And I think there is truly, like, just do the work and it'll get figured out. There is something deeply beautiful and calming in that. And I was listening to the Jimmy Carr book, by the way. And if you haven't, do. That's an amazing book. He is ridiculously insightful. And he said, he was talking about how Harvard graduates who make a plan, what was it, 3% of Harvard graduates make a plan, and they earned 10 times more than the other 97%. It's not like they're schmucks. It's not like, they're Joe Blow on the corner. Harvard graduates, they had to work damn hard to get there, and they earned 10 times the amount of the other 97% combined, because they had a fucking plan. But he then went on to refine it, and I liked it. And he's like, it's not the details of the plan. It's not having everything down to my most minute details worked out. It's knowing who you are becoming. And I was like, yes, that speaks to me on a deep biological level, because that is exactly what 126 to greatness is. This isn't about having a really detailed plan of where you're going to end up. I'm going to do these workouts, and I'm going to end up with a six-pack. I'm going to follow these programs, and I'm going to end up making $1 million, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that'd be fucking awesome if those things happen. But on the flip side, it's about working out who you are as a man and who you are becoming through those actions. Who are you becoming? What is the man in the mirror going to be like when you complete that work? Have a plan and enact those actions to become that man. When you talk about your greatness list of the things that you must get, the 5 most important things that you must get done today, those things need to move you towards the man you are. Everything else will sculpt it. Everything else will build your trust in yourself, your confidence. It'll make you into a better man. It'll make you fitter, healthier, more energetic. It'll refine your character. It'll build your knowledge base. It will teach you the power of, zero choice mentality and discipline. And that discipline is freedom and the things it allows you to do. It'll teach you all of those things. But the greatness list, that's where you also need to move the needle forward in who you are becoming, because all the other stuff is going to be taken care of. You are going to become a better man. End of story. Period. Guaranteed. You do this, and at the end of 126 days, you will be a better fucking man, and people will take note. There is unquestionably what's going to happen. So you have to do that kind of work. But the other stuff, the greatness list, that's where you need to know. Who are you becoming? What are you putting down on that list to become a better man? Is it business? Is it what you do for work? Is it as a father, as a husband? What are those things moving you forward to? But even beyond that, you need to define those things. Where do you need to improve? And look, I think you can always improve in all areas of life. But what's the number one thing? Do you not have enough finances right now? Cool. That needs to be your focus. If you don't have enough financial support to look after your family, that needs to come first. And yes, you need to be present and you need to show up for your wife and your kids. But if you don't have the financial support as well, you can be the best father in the world, but eventually they're going to get unhappy if you're, not stepping up to the responsibilities in other areas. Because you can't provide. If you can't put food on the table and, roof over their heads, probably start with that shit and then go from there. But I love that concept because it's so true. And it's even in all the law of attraction books, Think and Grow Rich, Law of Attraction, Abraham Hicks stuff. You need to live as if you are that person already. You have to be that man first. Define it. Decide who that is. And then embody it and live that life. And then lo and behold, all the other things just flow into place. Because when you are that person in that energy, in the vibration, in the mindset, in the actions you take, the rest will show up. And that's how you fucking win. That's how you get that. And, this is why I talk about being authentically you. And this is why this is working for me, because this is authentically me. This is effortless. I just show up and do it. I don't have to think about this. And, as I was even thinking about, how am I going to pay these bills? Look, they're not big bills. It's not a big deal. I was stressing over nothing. I was falling back into old habits. I'm like, I'm not that person. I am authentically living my best life. And you know what happens? And what's been happening in the last 50 days since I've been doing this, money just appears from places I didn't expect in incredible quantities. And it's just like, oh, hey, I needed that money. Sweet. Thank you. And that's how we do it. That's how we progress forward, because you live your most authentic life and the rest takes care of itself. And I think it comes back to this notion of the work. Because when you love what you do, when you're authentically living your best life, work is more fun than fun is. And that's such a strange concept. Like, I've said this to a couple of people, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, fun is more fun than work. Always. And I was like, then you're not living your best life. When they talk about you're going to burn out, you can't continue this, that's because you're not living in a life, because it's a grind. You're doing stuff that pushes against you. It doesn't refuel you. It doesn't fill you up. It doesn't light you up. When you do the things that light you up, that fuel you, that fuel your energy, and you're living in that authentic life, and you're doing things to better yourself that bring you sense of fulfillment and accomplishment, you don't burn out. You thrive on it. This is that point with the zero choice mentality. Like, I'm having this argument with, someone I'm working with to rehab my shoulder. And they're like, you need to slow it down. You need to rest more. And I'm like, this injury isn't from this, for one. This is years old injury. And it's not from exercise. It's not from what I'm doing. But also, me taking rest days diminishes everything else in my life. It takes away from everything. When I don't work out, when I don't train, when I don't push myself, I am not as good. I don't show up as good in my life. I need these things because that's who I am, and I flow. And this idea that you need to take time off and you need to rest is based on, your average person who doesn't sleep, who doesn't get it, who doesn't eat right, who doesn't do the things. It's not the same. We are not built the same. And when you get into this and you complete things like this, you'll realize that you aren't built the same either. It builds something different in you. And look, I know I'm going to get, people being like, oh, that's fucking bullshit. Everybody needs fucking rest. I'm like, I have seen people who do the things that they love and the work ethic that they have, they just go. They just fucking go, And look, some people are genetically blessed. Some people are built different. But I honestly think it's from within that burnout and stuff happens because you're not perfectly aligned with what you're doing. You've stepped out of authenticity and you're chasing things for the sake of chasing things. Like that CEO who's chasing more money for the sake of chasing money. It's not that he's in love with the game anymore, not in love with the process of doing the work for the sake of the work. He's chasing it for money. And that's the problem. That's when he gets burnt out. But you look at people like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, any of those guys, any of those top tier athletes, Michael Phelps, Elon, Steve Jobs, these people and the amount of work they were able to put in and not only thrive, but do things that none of us thought were fucking humanly possible. They're built different because it came from in here. It was authentically aligned with them. It's not burnout. This is just what they're fucking built for. And those people are built different. But you can train that. If it's truly who you are and who you're meant to be, you can build that power. You can build that muscle from doing the work. And as I said, I know people are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. I don't need to please everybody. I don't need everybody to agree with me. I can just tell you from my life and from teaching this to other people what then that looks like. When you go all in on yourself, when you give yourself zero choice, when you just show up every fucking single day and you do the work, that is different. You are built different for it. And that's where greatness comes from. It's called chasing greatness. It isn't called chasing mediocrity. It isn't called chasing average. It isn't called going with the flow or, fitting in with the crowd. This is to stand out, to be different, to be a man of substance, to be a man of worth that keeps your word, of confidence, of vigor, of the people are drawn to you to lead them. That is what you're building. it isn't going to come from doing the normal things. And you can look at all of them. You can look at Matt Fraser, you can look at Rich Froning, you can look at Tia Claire Toomey, you can look at Seabum, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like the top tier people. Yes, they were blessed in other areas, like you don't have the genetic makeup to win the CrossFit Games or win the Mr. Olympia, but the mental and emotional and the discipline and the fortitude in living authentically in that life, you have that capacity. You just have to build it. They're fucking muscles that can be developed by doing the work and falling in love with the process of doing the work. And then the results will come. When you just focus on the process and you love the work, everything else just flows after that. Everything else becomes effortless. You just got to do it. You just got to learn and pick the things and fall in love with that process. And that's the things I keep coming back to. You need a purpose, something bigger than you to push you forward. You need a challenge, something to push you and that you can overcome. And you need to go to war with something. We need this. We need the competitive drive. We need something that matters to us. We need something to overcome and conquer. And we need something to go to war with that we can compete against and fight against and get better against. When you have these, you have all the tools in your arsenal to chase greatness, to achieve something beyond yourself, something bigger than you. That's where great things come from. So that's all I have for you today. I hope that resonates with you, and I hope it inspires you to go do more, because you're capable of it. You just got to fall in love with the process. Just do it day in, day out. Zero choice mentality. Because discipline is freedom. And you'll be shocked at how free and incredibly powerful your life is when you just build ironclad discipline. That's all I have for you. Talk soon.